of America's Mayor Live. And we are live from where we started, the city of New York. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, right? Should I just made that up? Well, behind me, I should tell you, as I did last night, but you may not have been listening last night or watching. Behind me is the skyline of probably the best known place in the world, Times Square. And we are right below me, 47 stories or so below me, 46, 47, 48, whatever it is Times Square. Since here in New York, it's 8 p.m., they have all just about gotten into their plays, which generally curtain comes up at 8. And before this, they were packed, really packed. And this is the area, one of the areas that I first cleaned up in New York. And I know it like the back of my hand because we spent a lot of time figuring out our process for cleaning it up. And we knew it had to work because it would be either a good start or a bad start. And very often, not always, how you start is how you finish. And we needed morale very badly. Our police department was kind of in the shape it is now. Nobody believed in them. They were getting blamed for everything. They had just been funded, however, which was something Peter Malone worked out. But in any event, we'll get into that over the next day or two while we're here. Let's begin with something we covered on the earlier show, but some of you watch it and some of you don't. Present status in Iran, and then we'll go over a group of other items so that you keep up to date on those. The things that I think you're not going to have covered elsewhere, or at least not covered in the way they should be, so you get the truth. And then we'll come back to the war. The president decided, and what I think had to be a very close decision. They say he had quite a few discussions with his staff, and I would imagine you had different views on this. And there are two legitimate viewpoints here where you could go either way. He extended the ceasefire that was coming up yesterday, right? And he extended it for two reasons, and I think you can see this emerging from any rational discussion of this. He extended them because the government is fractured. Well, it sure as hell is. I mean, we know of two divisions in the government. I would suspect there are subdivisions below that. So you really don't know who's speaking for them. Is it the head of the parliament, Muhammad Ghalibaf, if I'm pronouncing that correctly? I probably have not, but he's the head of the parliament. And for a while, he was considered to be more or less the top guy under Khomeini's son, the guy with no face. And there was an article in which, I think this is wrong, but they talked about the serious injuries that he had. He's lost a leg. He's been disfigured to such an extent that many people say he's lost his face. So I'm trying to think how you lose your face, and maybe he can find it somewhere. But in any event, that guy, who, even if he had his face, and even if he were perfectly healthy, would be a figurehead and an operative of the IRGC, is behind the other part of the government, which is run by the head of the IRGC, and the two of them seem to have diametrically opposed positions on everything. Is it possible that's orchestrated? Of course it is. Although it does seem to me to be pretty legitimate major dispute between how to handle this. And neither one of them is in good faith. Here's what I mean. So one side wants to do a ceasefire, and one side wants to end the war, really, I think. And one side wants to give in to whatever is necessary to get it over with. The other side doesn't want to. I don't know exactly how they think it's going to end, but they think there's more room to push America, and they see what they believe weakness in Trump, because he's worried about the 2026 election. Uh, this this is not true, by the way. No one's saying this is true. I'm just telling you what they think, and they basically have now set what appears to be the position of the government, and that position is there no longer is a ceasefire. America has violated it, and they are going. They are going. They are going to. They're going to. They're going to start firing on American targets. What that means exactly? Largely, they've been firing on Gulf countries. That hasn't started yet, but they have threatened to do it. But they say there is no ceasefire. The president says there is a ceasefire, which is we extended to give them time to develop a proposal, a response to our demands and conditions for surrender. And at that point, we'll evaluate them and decide whether we resume the war or we continue to negotiate. Um, that's a bit of a fudgy, no, it's a totally fudgy period of time to stop it, which I suspect the president put there so it's really pretty much all in his control. The biggest news that emerged today is that, and I do feel at least we played some role in this, Ted. We developed the information. We developed we developed information that several people were being held by the regime for hanging, and the hanging was going to take place yesterday, I think, or maybe today. And we posted it immediately. We posted it on Truth, so we hoped it got to the president. We let people know about it. And then another source, thank God, was able to connect it to not just this group of four that were going to be executed, but to a group of 10 women altogether, most of whom all of whom had really done nothing except participate in the protest that was scheduled for execution in the same time period. And remember when we reported on this yesterday, we told you these are the people we had, but the MEK who gave us this information said there are definitely more executions of our people, except we don't have the information on it. Well, some very brave soul got all of this information out, and they appeared today on the front page of the New York Post with a plea to the president to save their lives. If we have that, Ted, it might be good if we showed them these young women who are all young women. I mean, the youngest one I think is 16, and the oldest one is probably about 35. And do we have that picture? I assume by not seeing it that we don't. So I can show you some of them right there. That's four of them. This is sort of this will sort of give you a sense of who and what they were involved in. The one I'll have to look. The one here. This lady is 16 years old. Did you hear me? She's 16 years old, and now I'll have to reverse them around a little, see if I can find her again. But if we look at this in the upper left-hand corner, which may be your right-hand corner, but it's the young lady with a smile as opposed to the other lady on the other side who is not smiling. The young lady with a smile, her name is Panah Movahedi. Panah is 24 years old, and she was arrested during the protests in Tehran's Punakh district. She is associated with the NCRI, the National Council for the Resistance to Iran, Uh, Whether she is or is not a member of MEK, I don't know. I actually don't know, and I'm not sure that they would tell me if she was. But in any event, this demonstration was definitely organized by the NCRI. What is the NCRI? The MEK is the organization that has existed for 65 years that was instrumental and helped in overthrowing the Shah, and then opposed the Ayatollah to such an extent that there's no organization even close to it in terms of the number of people they've lost, which is over 100,000, or the success that they've had in constantly shaking up this regime of terror. I could list them all. We've talked about them on this show quite a bit, but maybe the one of most relevance was they were the first to discover in 2003 that Iran was concealing a massive program for enriching uranium. Ali Reza Jeff Sodardi, who you see on this show quite a bit, was the one primarily responsible for that. And they've attempted to kill Ali Reza any number of times. Then, over the years, right up until now, they have developed a real expertise in that. They discovered the Fordo facility. They discovered the ones that were way down below the earth, heading toward China. Headed toward China, as my mother would say. They also discovered the facilities that were hidden in the desert that were extending the length of the delivery systems. What that means is, so it's not just an isolated fact. That was for the purpose of them being able to send nuclear missiles beyond Israel and the Gulf states, and to start hit Western Europe, to start hitting London, which they may be in fact capable of right now. They shot off a missile for the purpose of demonstrating that, and it came up a little bit short, but only a little bit short. I think it was supposed to go 2,500 miles and it went 2,000. But that was really to show Western Europe. They sure as hell could hit Germany with that, for example, or France. And it really shook the shit out of those people, because almost anything would, because they're anything short of defenders of liberty and freedom. They're defenders of laziness, socialist states, atheism, murdering little babies, abortion, at any time for any reason. They're completely amoral governments. They used to be highly Christian governments. And based on the undermining done by communism over the course of the last century, they've turned into kind of a jet-setting. What do you go to Europe for? To see history. They aren't making any history now. They were making bad history now. Also, if you look in the middle there, second from the right, it's the. I wish you would put that back, because I was just about to explain who Mahbubeh Shabani is. She's 33 years old. She's accused of waging war against God. Now, they've done, they meaning both the MEK and the sister groups that are with them, have done as good an analysis as they can of the video that exists. It doesn't appear that she did anything. One of them, Ms. Hadabedi, did throw a few things. We think. We haven't located that, but that's what she's accused of. She's not accused of hitting anybody. She's not accused of what happens at almost all the protests that in America, if Black Lives Matter is involved, or any of the Soros-funded groups, a fire took. None of that happened. But this lady, Mahbubeh Shabani, 33 years old, Appears to have done nothing. What is she charged with? She's charged with waging war against God. Okay. Uh, also, in the left-hand corner, right below Pana Movahedi, is a 16-year-old young woman. She's at the bottom in the left-hand side, my left-hand side, maybe your right-hand side. She also has a smile. There are only two of them in what I see that have smiles, and one is on top of the other. And this young lady is a Ghazal Galandari, who is 16 years old, and she is also charged with waging war against God. And nobody can find anything she did other than stand there. But her protest was in Yasuji, which is outside of Iran, which shows you that they're cracking down on people all over the country or where they can. Now, I told you she's 16 years old, this young woman. Another of the young ladies that is bottom row, the one with the least amount of lipstick on, she's the mother of a 5-year-old. She was arrested on January 20 in Darab, and we're not sure she even participated in the protest. So that gives you that there are 10 altogether, and five have been released. 5 are being held for another 2 weeks, and then will be released. Very unfortunate for those 5, because as Ted and Dr. Maria know, because they were with me when we did the interview, the oldest surviving prisoner afflicted by both the Shah and the Ayatollah has told us, and her daughter as well, that it is almost always the case that part of the punishment is young women get raped rather often, and certainly when they first arrive in these torture chambers, otherwise known as prisons. The president has successfully negotiated or demanded the release of 5. We don't know which 5 yet, or at least I don't. We'll see if we can get you that information. And the other 5, as I said, are being held for another, I don't know, 10 days or 2 weeks. And I'm sure the president will keep on pressure to get them out, because every day they're there is a day they probably get raped. And the Pope is condemning this war. I mean, I don't know. What do we just accept allowing them to rape our women? When I say our women, I mean that in a global humanitarian sense. Good women. It looks to me like 10 very lovely young ladies who, any place else. Well, again, it demonstrates something that by now should be well known to you, that the NCRI and the MEK is by far the most effective organization within Iran to contest the regime of terror. All you need to do is search the writings and the sayings of the Ayatollahs. And as recently as a year ago, the Ayatollah, who is now searching around, I don't think in paradise, for at least one virgin, hasn't found any yet, who was done away with like that. He said that the only organization capable that really worried him that could mount an effort against them was the MEK, which is why they have killed over 47 years, upwards and over 100,000. The best number we can give you is about 120,000. 30,000 of those were done in about a 3-month period in 1988. They probably added another 6,000 right now during the shootings on the street. And they make up the largest percentage of the people on death row, including these 10 women. Now, when I say that, let me be a little more specific. Some of these women would be MEK directly, I guess, but all of them are involved in the National Council of Resistance to Iran, which is the overarching group, as well as many others whose names and identities we don't have. All we can tell you is they during this period of time since the start of the war, they have killed 40 to 50,000 civilians. This is a country like China that is a serial murderer of its own citizens. Even other dictatorships often don't specialize in eliminating many of their citizens. Well, in any event, Iran is holding back from participating in the negotiation, and they're playing. I mean, they are giving our opponents the opportunity to say they're playing us. I understand why you would delay. I understand it, and I probably come out in favor of it. But it needs really quite a bit of explanation because they're ready to be taken out. I think. I have to add, I think. I mean, I don't know all of the intelligence that would make that a very authoritative position. It's based on a lot of information, and then based on whatever I can do to reason from that. So the president had a long discussion with all of his people about resumption of bombing, and I came to the conclusion that we should sort of put it in this somewhat ambiguous status of we'll have a ceasefire until they are capable of producing a position on our very tough conditions of surrender, which have to be tough. Otherwise, they could start a process where they destroy the world. So let's cover a couple of other things that aren't going to be covered correctly. The Democrats oppose this war for reasons that, and I know a lot of people will resist this, like you're throwing, for reasons that to me come very close to treason. I mean, if you think of Tom Friedman with the Times, who is a very sensible guy, a very intelligent guy, and somebody with whom I have pretty serious disagreements, but a great deal of respect. Now, what he said was very honest and very good that he said it, because it really sets up what we're dealing with. Tom Friedman said that this regime, the regime of terror, just about as one of the worst that the world has ever confronted. And he is very much hoping that it is eliminated. In other words, he's rooting for a regime change, except he doesn't want to see people like Trump and Netanyahu win because they're so horrible. It's very hard for me to even comment on that. I don't know what you say about that. I don't. Now, the reasons that many of the other Democrats have for doing are much baser than that. Let's take Senator Chris Murphy, who really should have that senator thing taken away from his name. I mean, the other guy from Connecticut. I mean, they really have quite interesting senators. The other guy is the guy who lied about being in Vietnam. Can you imagine having a United States senator that lied about being in action? And we know it. So he's there. This guy is appears to be an enthusiastic supporter of the regime, which I guess shouldn't shock us because two Democratic presidents have contributed more money to this regime than, as far as I can tell, China and Russia combined. That would be Obama, who did it in cash, which should have put him in jail. And Biden, and in Biden's case, maybe the auto pen did it. But the Politburo that really made decisions for him, which is kind of similar to the Shah without a face, who we don't know if he can even talk. He's got a little Politburo around him who makes decisions. I don't know if they have things like auto pens in Iran. But Senator Murphy, when he found out that it was alleged falsely that 26 Iranian ships evaded the U.S. blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, I found it out the other day, answered awesome, which is why doesn't he go live there? Get the hell out of America. He was criticizing American strategy, the prudence of epic fury, but to applaud a defeat of that nature for his country. And by the way, not to explore whether or not this is propaganda from the regime, which it turned out to be, easily discredited within hours. And in fact, the only ship that escaped is under surveillance as to whether or not it's going to deliver oil or natural gas or both to India, I think it's India, or to China. Uh, Murphy, when he was confronted with this statement, said it was sarcasm. Now, you might accept that if this were the one and only time he was an enthusiastic supporter of the homicidal regime of terror, but he has consistently been rooting for them. And criticizing the administration for standing up to them. Murphy in Spain last week announced that the war is an illegal war. And this was at the Soros organized Global Progressive Mobilization Conference. Those would be enemies of the United States conference. And that we were engaged in a totalitarian takeover. How does this pass even the smell test? Imagine if somebody was saying this about the Nazis or, but this guy is like, now, if that were isolated in the crooked Democratic Party, that would be one thing. But it isn't. I mean, this is, many of them take that position. They're rooting for the regime of terror. Some of them, like Friedman, out of this Trump derangement syndrome, inability to control their hatred of Trump, to the extent that they will support something they know, as Friedman does, that is very bad for their country. And I'm not sure Friedman should be allowed to give us his conclusion on that. I would accept his answer on that a lot better than this lying bastard. The co-senator with the guy who lied about serving in Vietnam. So when we come back, we're going to take a look at another one of the almost serial dishonesty of the Democrat Party, and that's what's going on with the face of the Democrat Party. I'm going to show you the face. When we come back, we're going to have with us Brady J. Kreitzer, who is an award-winning historian. He's the author of The National Road, and he's going to talk to us about Virginia redistricting. But I'm going to show you the new face of the Democratic Party. What do you think of that face?
Yuck.
We'll be right back. And please let me take it down because you might not come back if you see that. We'll be right back.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep green, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. Very shortly, we're going to go to Brady J. Kreitzer on the Virginia redistricting. But we have a new sponsor, and therefore I think it's worthy of a little additional attention. First of all, T2T.org is worthy of special attention all the time. Make your contribution to them at a time of war. Look, we've had 13 casualties. Yeah, but we've also had a lot of injuries. I don't have a feel yet for how bad they are. But if any of them are really serious, T2T.org will be there building alternative homes for them and making sure they have a full and independent life. There's nothing better you can do with your money than give them $11 a month. If you can give them a little extra, that's not bad either. But here's something that I think can help with morale during this period. And I mean, I love this stuff, so I'm not objective about it. You can build an entire online business with Sticker Mule Pro. Sticker Mule Pro. It's only $9 a month, and it comes with everything you need to sell patriotic merchandise online. What a time to be selling it. You get an e-commerce store, an email marketing service, a customer service platform, and more. These are all the things that you struggle trying to put together yourself. I know, I've tried. Sign up today at stickermule.com/pro and use a code Rudy, RUDY, for 3 months free. Got that? 3 months free. What do you got to lose? Sign up today, stickermule.com/pro. You see some of their things there. And use code RUDY for 3 months free. And do it now. It's a way of keeping our morale up. And I always felt during 9/11 that one of my jobs, obviously, there were more substantive parts to it, but maybe this was just as important, is to get everybody to get their eyes up, look toward the future. Let's make this something from which we get stronger. And let's show these people they can't beat us. That this nation that was created by God, I believe, is meant to help save the world. Now, let's go to Brady Kreitzer, who is the author of The National Road. He's an award-winning historian. And Brady, it's very, very nice to have you on a subject that's very disturbing, which is, and maybe you can put it in proper context for us, nobody could really do a better job, about the redistricting being done in Virginia, which seems that, redistricting is a very complex subject, and it's been the cause of a lot of, but this one seems to have gone really way off line. So please tell us.
We finally have a little bit of common sense coming out with this recent judge's ruling that froze this gerrymandering attempt. But as much as I hate to say it, gerrymandering has been around for almost as long as we have, Mr. Mayor. There's reasons you can
maybe
do
as
it.
long as me, not as long as you. You're a much younger man.
That's right. It's been around since 1812.
Okay.
There's positive reasons for doing it. There are very political reasons for doing it. There's really no innocent parties over the last 200 years or so, but I think it speaks to people in Congress since 1812 really letting down the American people, desperate to hold on to seats of power that were never theirs to begin with. The seats belong to us. But you're always going to see them changing the rules, rewriting the rules to serve themselves before the people that voted for them.
So what have they done in, I've been involved in a few of these battles, mostly in New York. And some of the districts they draw are just patently absurd. They and I think they prohibit now separating them. But I remember some that was separated, kind of like the Palestinian Authority. But why is this so much worse than the atrocities they've done in the past?
Well, any time that you redraw borders for your listeners in the middle of a decade, it's going to tip you off that they're up to no good. Usually after a census every 10 years, we evaluate where people move, trends in American life. That's when you see redistricting. But we've been seeing these mid-decade redistricting happening more and more. And this is what President Reagan was really so upset about too back in his administration, because it's only done for very selfish reasons. Like I said, it's been part of American democracy since 1812, but things really turned in the 1960s when the Supreme Court leaned on the fact that they wanted all voting districts to have equal residential population, equal population, essentially. Believe it or not, before that ruling, at one point in Vermont, there was a legislative district with just 30 people in it, and they had the same weight as a district with 40,000.
No!
So I know why they did it, but it hasn't done us any favors.
So what, 30? And how many representatives does Vermont have? Please help me.
Oh, I couldn't say. It's certainly less than 10.
Okay.
But
So
they
they
had
made one for
Vermont with only 30
30,000
residents because the
Did you
district
say
was
30 or
done
30?
geographically.
30.
30, yeah.
So
And then you had a city of 40,000 that had the same representation.
How long did that exist?
Well, when the founders kind of drew up this idea, they wanted like-minded regions to be represented by like-minded people. So, for example, like the Ohio River Valley, that's where I live. That's a long area, but those people have similar interests, so they should have a similar representative, in Congress on their behalf. But now we start getting into this complicated, almost NASA level geometry, like you mentioned, drawing these bizarre shapes, just massaging the system and pretty fraudulently sometimes, just to keep themselves in positions of power. And in Virginia, the Democrats are the ones holding the bag now.
This is really terrible because particularly with the divided nature of this country being a lot more either one side or the other, this becomes really important. It's critical to whether democracy is working or not. When we had more people that had relatively the same views, maybe they were a little to the right or a little to the left, but there was more of a margin of error. It didn't matter that. I could see it in polling, for example. In polling, if you're off by a couple of points and people pretty much look at things, that doesn't matter. But when an electorate is completely divided, you got to be absolutely right to get an accurate poll.
Yeah.
And you could throw off the majority in Congress by a lot by just fooling around.
These kind of borders, when we look at the numbers, it's usually around 10 to 15% increase in gains for any one state in terms of seats. And in a very small state, out west or maybe like a Rhode Island, that doesn't matter. But when you talk about California with 50 plus delegates, a 10% increase in seats, that's enough to sway the power of the House altogether. So
Right.
Of all the systems we have, I think this redistricting, gerrymandering system, it gives the most wiggle room for bad actors. But it's unfortunately the one we've had from the beginning.
Can it be adjusted and guidelines be set by Congress?
Congress could do that. They certainly could do that. But the issue we have is, and we always seem to fail this test, you have to let your better angels win out. When people get into power, they want to stay in power.
Right.
So this is a lever they can pull on, and it might buy you maybe 2 or 3 more terms. But in periods like this, I mean, that's an eternity. So yeah, they could absolutely change that, but we don't really see the stomach for it. And a lot of it comes from state capitals as well. Congress is very limited in the separation of powers.
Right.
So it's why, for example, you see the Virginia governor spearheading this as opposed to a senator from Virginia.
Right.
It's that separation of state and federal power that really kind of preserves this system in place.
Well, thank you very, very much for your contribution to this, because this is something people often say in the long term, we got to straighten this out. And it is true. It is true in the middle of census, and we're getting a little closer now to the end. This is done in desperation because they know that pretty soon they're going to get a major alteration that has to be done because of change of population, and they're doing the best they can to stave that off.
One of the things that really frustrates me, Mr. Mayor, is our House of Representatives right now is pretty well balanced as far as how people are represented. I mean, I would argue that before this Virginia bill, if you didn't like gerrymandering, and no one does, it was actually pretty minimized. But this just upsets the whole apple cart. It really does.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's a very, very good analysis. It's a complicated subject to explain to people. I think you did a very good job of making it accessible. And I recommend your book, The National Road. I think people need to understand this better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brady did a very, very good job. I like the cover too. I don't know what's happening to the Democrat Party, but maybe they're finally getting caught. I have often said that about corruption, which I do feel I'm somewhat of an expert on, not by being corrupt, but by catching them. I've spent a lot of, I'm thought of as a prosecutor for having gotten the mafia for having used RICO to rein in Wall Street and financial crime, and for significant number of political prosecutions, particularly the crooks in New York, that sort of led to my doing something against historical norms, which is get elected as a Republican in Democrat New York, only the third one in the 20th century to do that, and just one of two to remain a Republican. However, I have to say that I prosecuted pretty much an equal, I don't know if it was equal, but pretty close to an equal number of Republicans and Democrats. Now, there were more Democrats in New York and in my district, so probably it was 60-40 or 66-37, something like that. But in any event, I used to always say neither party has a monopoly on virtue or vice. But it is true that the Democrat Party has much more been plagued with corruption throughout its history than the Republican Party. I mean, it's the party of Boss Tweed. The corruption in the big old cities is almost taken for granted. New York and Chicago and Philadelphia and whatever. But right now they're going through a period of a significant amount of corruption in the House. Now there are some Republicans, and Republicans really tend to deal with it much faster than Democrats do. Even being willing to put aside their concern about a majority, they've gotten rid of a couple of people that have made it closer and more difficult for Speaker Johnson. But the Democrats, it almost seems that one is an amateur and the other is a professional. Republicans are amateurs at corruption. It happens. It's occasional. Maybe it's more than a little bit occasional, but it isn't systemic. In the Democrat Party, it's systemic, and it's starting to show in the House. Representative Sheila Sheffield, I have a hard time with that part, McCormick, who's a Democrat from Florida who lost a couple of times when she ran. I imagine the district could kind of get the odor here, but she resigned because she is accused of taking $5 million. I said $5 million in government funding, and it was funneled to a consulting firm that's owned by her. Between March of 2021 and October of 2022, before she voluntarily dissolved it, and it looks like about 3.6 million of it ended up in her campaign funds. And then some of it was based on whether were personal loans, donations from her siblings, who also had links to this healthcare company that doled out federal funds. So she's under indictment for this. And the federal prosecutors indicted her in November of 2025. And it's it'll be tried in Florida. But one of the things, I guess, that always like a little something jumps out. This allowed her to buy a 3.14 carat yellow diamond ring. The charges amount to about 53 years in prison, and the trial is scheduled a while from now, February of 2027. It's really interesting because she's in the congressional district that used to be held by Alcee Hastings, who did he resign or get thrown out of Congress? He may have been thrown out of Congress. But Alcee is someone I knew really well. And in fact, he was part of a delegation with me to Vienna, put together by President Bush and the Democrats. It was a bipartisan delegation that I was the chairman of to discuss, particularly anti-Semitism in France, because there had been a significant number of synagogue burnings done by the Muslims in the outskirts of Paris and in the suburbs and to some extent the smaller cities. And we held there was a conference in Vienna, and Alcee was part of the conference. Now, I know a lot about Alcee. I was involved in his investigations and whatever, so it was kind of strange that he was part of the delegation. I got along with him very, very well, I have to say. But it would be too hard to describe all of the corruption things he was alleged to be involved in. And yeah, I don't know if Alcee went to prison or not. We'll find out. But she has that district, which looks like there are certain requirements to go along with that district in Florida. We did talk about Murphy, who seems to be working for another country. Seems to be, I mean, he might as well be. The positions he takes against the United States are indefensible and irrational in favor of, you know, I don't know. You think Marxists get kind of screwed up with China and Russia and, well, not Russia so much as Cuba, but the regime of terror, I do not understand the empathy that Democrats have for the regime of terror, including, two presidents, Obama and, well, not really a president, an autopen. Biden, the autopen. Also, I mean, we don't have to go over the others, but you've had you've got the Swalwell situation. You've got the Republican Tony Gonzalez going out. You've got Representative Corey Mills, another from Florida, a Republican. Sexual misconduct and dating violence. There are people concerned about the due process or fairness of this. I don't dismiss that, really. But when they resign, well, we'll do that separately when we have a little more time, given the pressures of the war and all being a lot more serious than this. But this is a significant amount of corruption coming out at a certain period of time. And I think it portrays, I do believe that the problem of corruption is a core problem for this country. And I think it has a lot to do with some of the significant problems we have, like a budget that is completely unbalanced and a debt that is becoming very difficult to sustain. And it needs a very serious investigation and analysis. And of course, if you do, you're going to take on what Elon Musk had to take on. But it is absolutely not necessary. If we want to, in a healthy way, move on to the second half of this century as a really powerful nation, we got to get control of this. And it has to be on the agenda. So we'll do more on that. We've got plenty of information about it, and I do think with this opening up of what happened in Minnesota, which is not peculiar to Minnesota, it's endemic in the Great Society giveaway programs, and it's one of the reasons they didn't work. And this is different than the Murphy problem, which is corruption of a different nature. It's sort of embracing our enemies. So we're gonna. Those are people like Representative Ro Kahana, who says anything. He just says anything. It's sort of another Swalwell and Shifty Schiff. All Trump did is listen to Netanyahu. That's ridiculous. That is patently ridiculous. Trump's position on Iran goes back to 1985. He was, as a private citizen, vocal and concerned about how we were capitulating to the regime of terror and what a terrible mistake it was, and I think bought in immediately to the Reagan analysis that if you are going to have nuclear weapons, particularly those that can destroy the world, and you are going to have some form of mutual deterrent, it was critical that the people that had possession of these weapons at least be rational. We never can assure that they're going to be good, decent people, but you could have extraordinarily evil people. And you could put Putin and Xi Jinping in that category, or their predecessors. But they're rational. Rational meaning they want to survive. They don't want to die. They don't mind if a lot of their citizens die. I mean, who could have killed more people than the communist dictators of China? Well, maybe the Ayatollah. But at least they have to have a level of rationality. So President Reagan, who really should be listened to because he probably was our wisest president in a long, long time, he said, we just cannot allow nuclear weapons to get in the hands of irrational people. Well, they sure as hell, in the regime of terror, meet the definition of irrational people. And so from the very, very beginning, this has been, without any knowledge that they were nuclear, without any knowledge they're going to become nuclear, Trump made this point, I think it was in 1985. And then in 2003, the MEK, who doesn't get the attention they deserve, but maybe now will with the exposure of these victims, who discovered, the MEK discovered the enrichment of uranium in 2003. When that happened, a bell went off in the mind of those of us who I think are sensible and rational, that, oh boy, what Reagan was afraid of has now just happened. These people who are irrational, who are insane on the subject of suicide, could take out the whole world. And this is not one in which there's, room for reasonable positions on either side. Iran, as presently constituted, the regime of terror, shouldn't be within 10,000 miles of nuclear weapons if you want to survive. And at that point, I think President Trump is completely immovable on. I even think this idea that maybe after 20 years they can be rational, or 30 or 40, I do not believe this is one that President Trump will accept, even if there are people in his administration that look at it that way. Once again, going back to what I think the story of the day is, and that is the 10 women who appeared on the front page of the New York Post. Thank you again, New York Post, for being such brave and exceptional citizens of this great country, as you were you the only one to publish the hard drive that even to this day hasn't been really analyzed correctly. That proves without any doubt that the Biden family was a racketeering enterprise and was involved not only in taking massive amounts of money from our worst enemies, like multiple millions of dollars, but was involved in betraying the United States. By one example, the Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, which is 400 miles from China and 400 miles from Iran. And we gave it up as part of the withdrawal from Afghanistan. It was never scheduled to be given up. There's no other American president, including Obama, who thought it should be given up. I mean, he was probably afraid that it would create too much of a problem. Not that he didn't seem to really love the Ayatollah. I mean, you don't give cash to somebody that you're not enamored of, I guess. But Biden, and maybe it's because Biden was really an autopan, but it just has to be that whoever was Biden had to be affected by the 21 to 31 million dollars he got from China shortly, over the 5-year period before, in doing something that is completely without any basis or explanation, and that is giving up a base 400 miles from your biggest enemy, who is threatening to take control of the world away from you in a short period of time, and is building up their military with half their budget. And there you have a fully operational, recently modernized, great base that is sitting in a place that you're not going to be able to replace. Well, it's gone. It has not been replaced. China is that much safer. Iran is that much safer. And the United States of America, who elected this bastard president, is that much more danger. You go figure that. And don't go figure, because it's a horrible thing to think of. Well, we want you to watch Dr. Maria tonight, because she really is going into further depth on these subjects that we're talking about. So a couple of things that we'll save for tomorrow night, which is the situations at JFK. And I really do want to talk about that, because I have a solution for it. And it's probably good if we wait and see if we can get the secretary on, because I want to present the solutions that could at least solve some of the problems in New York, where, and also it's kind of personal, because the first near miss at Kennedy Airport occurred the day before I landed at Kennedy, and the second occurred the day after I landed at Kennedy. And I'm going to be taken off out of there, I think, pretty soon. Maybe it's LaGuardia, I don't know. But hey, it's like when the regime of terror twice set up bombings, and in one case I was pretty specifically the target, and in the other, I would have gone with a whole bunch of my good friends like Judge Mukasey and Speaker Gingrich and Madame Rajavi, the head of the MEK, who is a remarkable, remarkable woman, and would be a charismatic and really difference-making leader of Iran, even in a short period. We'll also give you some more details, because we'll have to gather them on these people that are scheduled for hanging. 10 now relieved of that. 10 relieved of it, 5 released, and 5 being kept there for another week or two so they can rape them. Yes, I said that. They can rape them, because that's what they do. And we have some information about the Pope and maybe a way of resolving that. And also my challenge, I offered a challenge. The Mex have not taken advantage of it, but there is something out in Queens, which is just that way. And people in New York now believe that there's the curse of the Mambino. Mondami showed up at a Met game, and since he showed up at the Met game, they've lost 9 or 10 in a row. They're playing tonight. We'll see what happens. But I offered to go to the game for them, even though I'm a Yankee fan, because there's nobody in recent memory, certainly no living mayor, that has as many World Series championships, division championships for both the Yankees and the Mets, a Stanley Cup. The last time the Knicks were in a national championship, my sports records have been unmatched in recent times. We can go back to Mayor Wagner and Mayor LaGuardia, and they did pretty well too. But the other mayors have been real flops as far as championships, probably because they don't love sports the way I do. But the curse of Mambino, the Met fans are really upset about. And the Knick fans are imploring him not to go to any of the Knick games, because they think that curse could be carried over to them. So I am willing to do that. I also, let's see if it works tonight. I did a special invocation, my special sports voodoo for them. So let's see if it works tonight. It may require personal presence, but this invocation may work. So we'll follow that. And the Yankees are playing the Red Sox, which is another good reason why I should get off early. And which really isn't early, just not extend soccer time. And thank you very much to Brady Kreitzer for appearing tonight. Get the National Road. And let's keep watching this. This is an evolving situation. As I said, the president is very artfully playing 10-card Monty, and he has got them totally confused. But in the process, it necessarily confuses everybody else. Because if it didn't, then they'd figure it out from the public press. Pray for the people of Iran, please. They're so close. They're so close to being saved from torch. 100 years of torture under the Shah, under the Ayatollahs. Pray for the people of Israel. Pray to end the plague of anti-Semitism, which we have more information about for you. Pray for the people of Ukraine, who are making modest gains, as we all don't pay attention to them. And of course, pray for us, the people of America, and for our great president, who oh my goodness, is he at the right time? Thank you, God. But keep giving him your grace. And now, go over to Lindell TV and watch Dr. Maria, because our show tonight is really excellent. I even helped a little. I delivered a little piece of information. I was a researcher. So thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 on Lindell and 8 here on X. And of course, God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk,